So the new Blade Runner movie got me excited again about the world of Blade Runner, and it got me excited about this guy, Hampton Fancher, who was really kind of like, in many ways, as much of the father of the Blade Runner movie as Philip K. Dick. I mean, Hampton Fancher was this, and it's like this Hollywood lore, this actor who came in contact with this science fiction author and his book, or novella, whatever you want to call it, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and got so excited about it and was like, we got to make this into a movie, got his friend Brian Kelly to wrangle the rights for Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep from Philip K. Dick, got the producer Michael Almereyda involved, and eventually that became, Blade Runner. It became this, science fiction, this icon, science fiction icon. But this guy, Hampton Fancher, you'd see him in Blade Runner documentary interviews, and he's an interesting guy. He's kind of a raconteur. He's one of these older actors who's like this raconteur, and, a lot of what he's saying is kind of like half BS and half kind of filtered through the 50 years, the fog of time and everything. But Hampton Fancher, he says things with such a conviction, you believe him. It feels real, and and I'm sure most of what he says is just he shoots from the hip. He's very straight shooter, and you want to listen to him. And he's like again one of these great kind of cinematic old guy raconteurs that you just want to listen to, and you want to go, oh my God, I'd love to meet this guy. And and then there's this documentary that just came out about him. This called Escapes. A wonderful title, man. First of all, Escapes. There actually is this. There's this Vincent Price movie called Escapes, which is like this. I think it was like shot on video with Vincent Price. It's but that's aside from that. Escapes. I love the name because that in some ways kind of encapsulates this guy Hampton Fancher's life, marrying famous actresses, going all over the world, getting involved in all kinds of stuff, becoming a major television bit part actor with Bits and Gunsmoke and Bonanza and all the rest, becoming like a TV Western actor, and then just kind of going through his whole life. So that's pretty much what the movie, the documentary reminds me of the recent De Palma documentary. It's very much like, De Palma was directed by, or shot by De Palma's friend Noah Baumbach, another, famous director, and Escapes was made by this guy, Michael Almereyda, who's kind of like this New York independent film fixture with films like Nadja and the version of Hamlet, and he's done all kinds of different movies. I'm going back because I remember he did this movie Twister that was really weird. But he's, again, it's just like this idea of like showing up at Hampton Fancher's doorstep one day with a camera and then just shooting this monologue where this guy goes on and about his life. And that's pretty much what it is. It's just Hampton Fancher talking about his life, illustrated by scenes from his television shows and movies and everything, and he had quite a life. I mean, the film starts off with his early years being an actor, being involved with Terry Garr, some wacko thing where he was, trying to get money from some ex-boyfriend of Terry Garr. This whole convoluted thing, and then it jumps back to when he grew up. And then talks about his early life and everything. Then flamenco dancer, and the movie is like punctuated by this like flamenco music. It's very kind of it's wild. And then moving forward into his acting life and becoming an actor, and the ups and downs of his career and everything, and he talks very, very honestly, and and very from the heart. It just feels like it's not a guy who's just making stuff up for him and trying to make himself into something bigger. It feels very, very honest, very from the heart. It's very kind of bearing his soul, But many Hampton Fancher interviews sound like that. He's a very easy speaker, and it's very wonderful to listen to this guy go. I mean, the movie's only like 86, 87, 89 minutes. Basically, an hour and a half. I could watch this for like hours and hours and hours. It's so great. And he tells all these wild stories. Now, he tells this one story about doing publicity for this European film, and it builds into this. It's strange. It goes left and right, and he meets this girl, and things happen, and it's just, I don't want to spoil it because it's just so crazy. It's such a wonderful story. You do learn a little bit about the origin of Blade Runner. You get a little. There are some. The film is very interesting. It kind of intertwines the life of Hampton Fancher with the life of Philip K. Dick, and there's this Philip K. Dick interview. He's at a convention and he's doing a speech, and they kind of weave that in with Hampton Fancher, parts of Hampton Fancher's life, his films, Blade Runner, everything kind of running together. It's a real cool mixture. It does get very kind of esoteric, and it tries to, in a way, almost kind of reproduce the kind of elusive and esoteric quality of Hampton Fancher, and that there's lots of these. There's lots of sequences in the film where they're just like white text on a black screen, and it's very kind of like boom, and it's this wall of text and talking about very esoteric things or filling in parts of his life, and it's like boom, and there's almost not enough time to read it, and you kind of got to go back, or you got to pause it, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, okay, I get it, and move on. I didn't do that often, but there are some moments where it does get a little bit esoteric, and you could almost watch this thing a couple of times, like you listen to a good director or a crew member commentary track a few times. It's just there's such a brain dump of information that you get about maybe 80% of it, and you could this film has, I think, a really good rewatch value that you could go over it very frequently. But you get a little bit about Blade Runner, but not a lot. It just takes you through the basics of, his friend Brian Kelly getting the rights, and Barbara Hershey, and him as a whole. There's so many little stories and matrices of stories and things going here and there. And the movie that's kind of the climax of the film, and the ending of the film is the whole Blade Runner, the whole triumph of Blade Runner. But it's a really great documentary. I mean, it's as interesting and as illuminating as De Palma was. Great documentary. It was released in July of 2017, and now it's on iTunes. I think it's only available streaming on iTunes right now, and it's scheduled to be released on DVD, I believe, at some point in January 2018. So there is some kind of a release planned. It would be a wonderful like triple feature to play Blade Runner 2049, and Escapes. I don't know. That would somehow crack open the universe. I don't know. But an interesting film. If you love interesting documentaries about kind of Hollywood people, this one I think is one of the best, because Fancher tells his stories with such a conviction, such a heart. He's a different kind of breed, and this is a different kind of documentary, definitely. So I definitely think you should check it out. Escapes. What a title. I love it.